at Nebraska, and I was expecting it when I got here, so it was no surprise. And I'm prepared mentally, and I'm ready to answer any questions that you guys have for me.
The pro game obviously takes a big impact on you physically. Are you prepared for that?
I'm definitely prepared for it. I got a lot of friends in the professional league, and they've told me that it's basically mental, and as long as you stay in the training room and get things treated and don't let them go without being treated, then you'll be all right.
Lawrence, you said that the St. Louis Rams was the team you wanted to play for. You were the man in the draft, so many teams interested. Why was St. Louis the team you wanted to play for?
Like I said, I had Toby Wright, Zach Wiegert, and I just liked the visit when I came here. It was a great visit. And I just had fun here talking to the coaches, and so I just wanted, I don't know what it was exactly, but I just wanted to be here, and I was talking to Daryl Ashman, one of the linemen. He lives, or he's staying in California, and he was saying how much he'd like to have me here, and it just made me feel like this is where I wanted to be.
In talking with some of the people who were there at the press conference, there weren't many hard, pointed questions in the big press conference setting about Lawrence Phillips' past problems at Nebraska that have been well documented over the last few days. In other words, softball questions could honestly be used as described to us from people who were there and watched the whole press conference. Now, if you're the Rams, here comes a player who, it's not that the individual is going to be a problem. There may be a problem with the individual. How do you deal with that as a team?
I think the players on that team are going to surround Lawrence Phillips, and they're going to take care of him. They're going to look after him because they don't want the negative press associated with them because he's a part of that team. So they're going to take care of Lawrence Phillips. They're going to make sure he does all the right things, says all the right things, and be where he's supposed to be on time. I think Lawrence Phillips is going to be a model citizen in St. Louis.
There is a seesaw effect. There's still the high of the new franchise, which may soften the impact from a public relations standpoint regarding the selection of Lawrence Phillips. After the press conference that Lawrence Phillips and the other first-round pick Eddie Kennison had, Phillips had a chance to visit with our Hank Goldberg in St. Louis.
Thanks, Mike. And Lawrence Phillips is with us here in St. Louis, the #1 draft pick of the Rams. You look very happy to be here, Lawrence.
I'm definitely happy to be here. The Rams drafted me, and I got my buddies here from Nebraska, and we can get it done.
You're happy to be here, but there were 5 teams that passed on you. Couple of things about that. One, would you have liked to have gone higher up, despite the fact you say you're happy to be here?
It's always good to be a high draft pick, but I guess it's good when you get to be with a team that you want to be with, so I guess you give a little to get a little.
Have you spoken to the Rams about what they're expecting of you now that you're here, since they've drafted you and before they drafted you? What did they say to you about their expectation as far as you off the field is concerned?
Well, we haven't really discussed anything yet. I haven't had time to sit down with everyone yet because they still got the draft going on and things like that. So I think when I come back from mini camp or when I come back in town for training camp, then they'll have everything set out, parameters or whatever they expect from me off the field.
You're anticipating some contractual things that they would expect from you?
They haven't said anything, so I'm not sure.
But they're talking about you doing work in the community, going back to college and finishing. I know one team wanted that from you. Dealing with domestic violence issues, all those things. What do you want to do in those areas?
I just want to be involved in the community. I'm not sure. I haven't said any specifics. I know it's a lot of opportunities out there, so when I get here, I'm just going to look into a lot of different things and see what best suits me.
How have you changed since you began counseling? Do you still have an anger in you? Do you feel it, or is it something that you think you can overcome?
Everyone gets angry. It's just a matter of controlling it and managing it, and I think I've got a better grasp on managing anger.
Do you think, this is a second chance country. I mean, I'm a big believer in that. I hope everybody else is too. On the other hand, do you think you're being given a fair shake, and is there a point where these interviews start to get to you where you say, how many more of these am I going to have to do?
No, I like doing interviews. I love the TV, so it's good marketing. I'm a good-looking guy, so I hope that a lot of people see this. But I think that everybody's going to keep that the questions in their mind until I show them something off the field. They want to see in a couple of years if I've lived up to what I've said, and I plan to do that.
Jacksonville, Arizona, and Baltimore passed on you. They're all on the schedule next year. Have you? I looked that up, okay, for you.
We looked it up, too. I'm definitely looking forward to playing those guys, and I hope it will be a great game between the Rams and those 3 teams.
Hank Goldberg speaking with Lawrence Phillips, now of the St. Louis Rams. We should point out traveling with the Phillips entourage to St. Louis was Andrea Kirby, former network sportscaster who has now made a very successful career in being a consultant to teams and athletes in regards to how to do interviews in the proper fashion and how to properly present the message to the media, really coaching for players in dealing with the media. And Lawrence Phillips has retained the services of the well-respected Andrea Kirby. Speaking of Andreas, our Andrea Kramer joins us from Tampa. Andrea.
Getting nervous. I thought you were going to say that I was traveling with the entourage for a second there. I have not perfected being in two places at once yet, Mike, but I want to make one point about the Rams in general that some other teams have mentioned to me, which is not to minimize what Lawrence Phillips has gone through and the facts surrounding the assault, but many teams have pointed out, let's get this clear. We don't want to blow Lawrence Phillips out of proportion. There are 20 guys in this draft that may have done worse things than Lawrence Phillips has, and I certainly think that the Rams take that point of view as well. I had a chance to speak to Steve Ortmeyer this morning, the Vice President of Operations for the team. He said to me that he pretty much reiterated what Lawrence said himself to Hank Goldberg. He did add that they will proceed with Lawrence. They will help him as much as possible to get the counseling. Remember, he must be in counseling at least till the end of his probation, which is November 29th of this year. They said they will look to structure some things in his contract having to do with behavioral issues. There's no question about that. They want to sit down with Phillips. They want to sit down with his agent, Mitch Frankel, in terms of deciding what they need to do in the community, things that they want to be proactive, if they want to get him involved in sponsoring a boys' home, giving money toward battered women's shelters, but they want to be proactive with it. The other thing that Ortmeyer told me is that he expects no backlash in the city of St. Louis. Hank mentioned second chance country. I think Ortmeyer reiterates that as well, but clearly there haven't been any problems yet, and I don't think that the Rams are anticipating any now. Right now, let's go back to Mike Tirico.
Andrea, one other point. The young lady involved in the incident that has raised all this Phillips publicity, Kate McEwen, she has had her scholarship removed at the University of Nebraska. She's a women's basketball player. The scholarship was removed, according to the coach, for basketball reasons. Sal Palantonio joins us from Baltimore. Sal.
Thank you, Michael. You know, Art Modell, the owner of the Baltimore Ravens, said that he was prepared to take Lawrence Phillips, that he had a long meeting with him. He had a 3-hour dinner with him about 10 days ago, and they came out the next day and said that he liked him very much as an individual and thought that they could work with him here. Went so far as to say as he thought that he was provoked, that was the quote he used, provoked into the assault against his ex-girlfriend. That's how far he went. He got a lot of pressure, however, I'm told, from marketing people within his organization that said these were people that worked with the Baltimore Orioles and knew the community very well and knew that this was a city that did not tolerate scandals associated with its pro athletes, and they were very lucky when Ogden was there. It was almost like Arizona kind of saved Modell from the decision of taking Lawrence Phillips. When Ogden was there, Ogden was rated ahead of Phillips, and that's why they took Ogden instead of Phillips. Let's go back to Mike Tirico in New York.
And Sal, final point on this, so many people were looking towards today as Lawrence Phillips facing the media for the first time. We tried to avoid that phraseology for this reason. Chris Fowler, Craig James, myself, Lee Corso, we sat at the Fiesta Bowl Media Day and watched hundreds of media members surround Lawrence Phillips for a full hour. He was not let go from this 5 or 6 deep throng of media and constantly asked questions about his anger and the situation, and he handled those. So people who looked at this as a first hurdle for Lawrence Phillips of having to deal with this publicly are speaking, I honestly think they're speaking incorrectly, because he had to deal with it with the entire national media. Remember, the Fiesta Bowl was a 1-against-2 national championship game. ESPN's coverage of the National Football League draft continues on ESPN2 at 1 Eastern. We still have a half hour before we drop the green flag in Martinsville. We'll continue after this from New York.
Reinhold Bertleff had a key role in the building of Porsche's 911 Carrera. Did he design the engine? The radical suspension? No. Instead, Reinhold and his co-workers have perhaps the best job in the world. They test drive every 911 on the Autobahn. If Reinhold likes your car, we're pretty sure you'll like your car.
There's a hunger on the highway, crunching down the road, blowing by those burgers.
Introducing Big Border Taco, just 99 cents.
It's a mother load.
We added more beef, more cheese, tons more crunch. In fact, the Big Border Taco's so big, we had to beef up our trucks.
There's nothing ordinary about it, Taco Bell.
If If your office equipment ever breaks down, no matter where you are in the business world,